All right, folks, good evening to you. This is Orange and Blue Bloods Thursday. I'm Buddy Martin. The program tonight features some very interesting guests, including Woody Paige of Around the Horn. We have an extended interview with Woody about the big story in Around the Horn was Deion Sanders. Everybody's talking about Deion Sanders. Don't judge. Some of you say, well, I'm tired of it. You know what? America's not tired of it because they're getting big numbers on national TV talking about Deion Sanders. Talk about that. We've also got the guys. Our regular Thursday night crew would be BEN TROUPE, FRANZ, LOREN and the team. Brendan Martin has the night off. He let me run the show for a night, and we will be talking to you for the next hour right here on Orange and Blue Bloods Thursday. Tell your friends and neighbors. The Buddy Martin Show is now officially on the air.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Good evening and welcome to the program. I'm not Brendan Martin, but congratulations to Brendan, who did a fabulous job in my absence these past few weeks. Thank you for all the notes, cards, letters, flowers, etc. that you sent me. I am fine. As you can see, I'm fine. A little bit of an adjustment to the ticker, back on the job, feeling great. Glad to have you here tonight. Please reach up and, as Brendan says, hit that subscribe button wherever it is, smash it wherever it is. And join us tonight for a good show. We've got a really good interview, and I apologize for the quality on the other end. Woody's not a professional technician. With Woody Paige talking about Deion Sanders and a wonderful story about Rick Riley, which we won't get on the air tonight, about the days we worked with Rick. So good stuff. I'm going to get that in just a second. Woody Paige will join the program, followed by Ben, Franz, Loren. It's going to be a good night, folks. First, though, this message from Meldon Law. I want to talk about Swamp Kings. I really enjoyed it. I think Jeffrey Meldon did too. Jeffrey, your first take on what you saw there with that 4-part series on Netflix, and how did you feel as a Gator coming out of that thing?
Man, I was so proud. I felt like it was, a love postcard or something to the Gators because it showed what kind of tradition we have here. It showed how much blood, sweat, and tears Urban Meyer put into the program. And it made everybody realize that a winning football program doesn't happen without a lot of really hard work.
That was the truth. That was the underlying theme. You want to win a championship, you pay a price. And Urban paid a big one, even with his health. And I think maybe what we're seeing now, since Urban is now going to be up for the Ring of Honor, maybe there's a different viewpoint of what people think about Urban Meyer.
So, I heard 4 or 5 years ago that, they were doing this whole thing where Spurrier was supposed to get the Gator fan base chilled out because they knew they wanted Urban on the Ring of Honor a long time ago. But all these Gator fans had such a bad attitude towards Urban. They needed Spurrier's help to smooth things out. What have you heard about that?
Well, listen, when you grew up in Cleveland, my pleasure to welcome back to the program. It's been a couple of years. My good friend, former colleague at the Denver Post, Woodrow Von Paige. We call him that, but his name is Woody Paige. Really happy to have you join the program tonight. Woody, how you been, man?
Where did you come up with Woodrow Von Paige? I mean,
That's what the Pete called you. The Pete called you. Don't you remember the Pete calling you Woodrow Von Paige?
Yeah, but I don't understand. That sounds like a Nazi in World War II. I mean,
Well,
blonde.
what would you
My
like for it to be?
I'm Irish. I don't know how that could be
Oh
blonde.
boy, you know what? You have gotten bitter and lower you got, but that's okay. I love you anyway.
I never knew where that came from. I knew where,
I don't
you know,
know. It was
Will.
German. I think Jim Harry did it. Woodrow on Page. He was
Uh,
German.
you
Okay,
know, like,
Woodrow, in your limited time, I have to get you in here, and I want to ask you about this story about
I'm giving you a
your.
half hour.
Oh,
I'm giving
wow,
it all to you.
whoa, you're gonna be late if you do that. So here's the deal. This guy called Deion. People didn't take him serious at first. Now they're taking him real serious. And you made a statement to me today I want you to repeat right now that the impact that this guy has had on college football and what you said about it.
Well, let me divide it into about three different areas. What I wrote in a column a week or so ago was that Colorado had never experienced anything like this in sports except for one other time, and that was Tebow mania. When Tebow came to town and he was the backup quarterback after being drafted in the first round, and the coach Josh McDaniels didn't play him at all that first year. And then the second year, when Josh McDaniels was gone, John Fox put him into a game in the first half against the Chargers, and he started playing well. He wasn't a great thrower. And I'll go back to that in a moment since you bring up Tebow, but well, I'll just pause here. Josh McDaniels told me he drafted Tebow because he saw what would fix him as a passer. And you saw him play at Florida. People in Florida saw Tebow. He completed about 65, 68% of his passes. So you wonder, how could this guy not be a passer in the pros? He threw like a baseball pitcher. That's what he was in high school. He was a baseball pitcher. And Josh McDaniels, unfortunately for Tebow and for Josh McDaniels, couldn't correct the problem. He thought if you put a towel under Tebow's arm, he could fix it. Well, it didn't fix him. A towel under somebody's arm in practice doesn't fix you. Anyway, Tebow mania took off because Tim Tebow won 4 of the next 5 games with comebacks in the fourth quarter. And Tebow mania, which had already crossed the country when he was a sophomore and was Heisman Trophy winner, and because of what he did in Gatorland, promising that a loss they had would never happen again. You remember that. You know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So anyway, Tebow mania became the biggest thing in the world in terms of talk shows. ESPN. I was on ESPN at the time, and Skip Bayless and I were doing a show, and Skip Bayless would talk about Tebow as if he were God every day. Well, getting back to your original question, nothing had happened like that in Colorado. Nothing had happened in the nation about like Tebow when he was at Florida, and then when he came in with the Broncos. And the only thing that had ever approached that here was Colorado winning the national championship and beating Notre Dame in the Orange Bowl. So along comes Deion, who everybody refers to as Coach Prime, and coaches around the country question the hiring. Talk shows question the hiring. He'd only coached on the college level at Jackson State, but he had done an incredible job there, and he had 2 sons that were incredible players. One a quarterback and one a safety. And he also took so much criticism because he ran everybody off at the program. There's only 10 players left from last year's team. But as he has said, on 60 Minutes, he was on Good Morning America this morning. He's everywhere. He's on every commercial I see. He's got more commercials than Peyton Manning, and I thought that would never happen in life. But as he has said, they were 1-11. Would any coach have wanted to keep those players? He was able to bring in, buddy, like 85 new players.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Nobody had ever thought that that's the way that the transfer
But
portal
Woody,
could be
you
used.
can't do that, Woody. You have to have 3 years to do that. That doesn't work. That doesn't work.
Let
You
me
know,
let me tell you something that nobody's talking about. Of those, it's actually 9 players that stayed. 9 players. One of them's a walk-on.
hmm.
The walk-on had 3 of the biggest catches that occurred in the Colorado State game in which Colorado came back. The others are starters on the team. They took the challenge and they stayed. The other guys didn't take the challenge. They all left and went to Southern Mississippi or North Texas State or to smaller schools. But what people want to understand about the transfer portal is he couldn't take their scholarships away. They could have stayed at Colorado. I'm defending it. They could have stayed at Colorado and gotten their scholarship and become a student. But they wanted to go play football. Well, he said, go, I'll help you. I'll help you. But he brought in, it's amazing, there are like 22 different schools that are represented on this team this year that weren't there last year. He's got 2 guys from Miami. He's got guys from Iowa. He's got guys from Connecticut. I mean, he went out and actually recruited like coaches do every year. He recruited a whole new team, and they're 3-0. But the coaches, including the Oregon coach, who defamed him really during the offseason, are now having to eat their words. And the TCU coach, who had kind of criticized him, had to eat his words after they beat TCU, not the same team. The Colorado State coach criticized him during the week, saying, "My mama told me not to wear sunglasses and caps when I'm talking to adults." Well, who cares? Who cares? But he's done an incredible job, and I don't think, we talked about it on ESPN's Around the Horn yesterday, is there ever been a more famous coach in college football?
The guy was famous and then head coach, yeah.
Bear behind Nick Saban, maybe Urban Meyer or Steve Spurrier in Florida, but nothing like Deion Sanders and what he's done. And they probably will lose at Oregon. They've got USC coming up after that. They've got UCLA on the schedule. They got Washington State. They got Oregon State. They've got 5 or 6 teams that are ranked. So they're going to be hard pressed to win 6 games.
Yeah, but Woody, the over/under in Vegas was 3 on them.
Yeah, well, at the beginning of the season, there was one ranking said they wouldn't win 2 games this year. Well, I tell you what, when they win 6 games, which will qualify them for a bowl, every bowl in the country will want them.
Yeah, of course.
Bowl in the country. Orange Bowl would want them. I mean, the playoff schools, they already have, they have allegiances. There would be the playoffs, but I promise you that he's not going to go to Shreveport. You're not going to be stuck with it. I'm not putting it down. I've been to the Pecan Bowl or whatever it is in Shreveport. Yeah. I've enjoyed myself.
Weed Whacker, when you went there, it's called the Weed Whacker. The great Woody Paige is on this Woody in unlimited time. How has he done this, Woody?
Well, he's done it because he actually knows how to coach. He coached in high school. He knows how to coach. Here's what he did. People don't talk about it. He went and got the Kent State head coach, who is a brilliant young offensive mind. He got the defensive secondary coach from Alabama to be his defensive coordinator. That's not some schlump off the street. That's a guy that was coaching a national championship team as a defensive coach at Alabama. He went and got defensive coaches and offensive coaches. He is not a moment-to-moment head coach. He's got guys that are coaching. And coaching, as coaches say, they're coaching those players up. These guys were not starters at most of their schools, but they probably deserve to be starters.
Yeah, and
somewhere in Alabama.
But the people who
so how is he doing it?
Yeah.
What he was able to do was bring together. How can you bring together 86 players that have never been together?
They can't
well,
do it.
He did it because he had great coach, because he has great fire in his belly in terms of the way he talks to the players, the way he treats the players. A guy drops a pass, he goes over and hugs him, and people say, well, I see coaches do. You don't see coaches go over and hug players after they make an interception. Saban will march up and down and start yelling at the guy.
Yeah.
He's a different type of coach.
He is.
And I call him You would appreciate this. He's a preacher. He's a prophet. He's a
He is.
promoter. He's a parent of two players on his team.
Yeah.
He's a little bit of everything you could possibly want in an entertainer,
Yeah.
in an analyst, in a coach, in a guy you'd want to be around. And I've been around him. And people say he's going to go to the NFL. I'll tell you what I tell people, and nobody's talking about this. He's not going to the NFL. He's in bad health. He's got
He may
serious,
lose his foot or his leg.
Yeah, he's got blood
That's a
vessel problems.
serious,
And my
it's
dad,
a serious thing, really serious thing.
yeah, my dad is a diabetic, lost his leg. He was amputated. He's got that kind of problem. He's not going to deal with the problems of the NFL.
Yeah.
He's going to stay in Colorado for 3 or 4 years. Maybe someone will come along from the SEC because he,
Could
played
happen.
it.
I guarantee you, the first guy looking for a coach will be calling him. First one in
Yeah,
the SEC.
We go back. TCU interviewed him and went, "Nah, we're not going to hire you." There's going to be an Ole Miss, or there's going to be not a Vanderbilt, but South Carolina, or Tennessee, or Florida, or Georgia. I mean, there's one of those SEC teams
Wouldn't that be something?
is going to offer him the moon. They're
Yeah.
going to offer him the most money since Saban.
Yeah. All right, fascinating subject there right now. We have much more with Woody, and he has a great story on Rick Riley. Will play tomorrow on our Best Fridays of Football. Now it's time to bring in the man, the preacher himself, the guy who's got a collection of hats, some of which I like and some of which I don't. I think he's got one tonight that I like. I hope it is. I'm waiting to see the great BEN TROUPE. What's up, brother? How you doing?
Always good to be on with you, buddy, man. And I love the fact that old Woody Paige, Woody was dropping knowledge, man. I think he gave a unique insight on what Deion Sanders is for being a father, and Joe Horn's son, and him being able to tell him, look, you a dog. I know your daddy, is incarcerated, right? It's like when you go into the mind of who Deion Sanders is, I think what he said at the end resonates. Somebody says, I don't think Deion Sanders would ever go to the NFL because he don't want to deal with grown men making money who's not living up to the standard that he's going to set. Yeah. But when you start talking about an SEC school that he would go to, it's going to be a powerhouse. I mean, people say, ain't no way. If Deion Sanders coming to the SEC, and I'm not saying he is, I don't want to start no rumors on
Don't be starting any rumors now. They'll be
all
over
no
us.
Rumors.
Come on now. Be careful.
But the thing
but
is,
Mississippi State. No, I'm sorry. Mississippi State.
But think about this, buddy. He took a team that won one game last year. They 3-0. They 3-0 now, right? And they got Oregon this weekend. An SEC school is looking to say, what you think he could do if he had our resources? What you think he could do if he had our, alumni and funding? And so, listen, like I said, I do think he's going to be at Colorado at least another year because I think Shedeur Sanders is going to come back for a senior year. But Deion Sanders, he said something that should resonate. He said, all I got to do is win. If I win, everything else take care of itself. And he's getting it done, man. He's doing it his way, which is a way only he can do. But having Lil Wayne on the sideline, rapping, but doing a concert before the game. Having Warren Sapp said on the Rich Eisen show, I'm gonna go back and get my degree so I could be on the staff next year. There go T.O. There go Michael Irvin. I mean, who's not gonna show up to Boulder if Deion says, "Hey man, I need you to come"? So
I'd like him to call me. I'll come down there.
But the thing that gets lost the most with Deion when he says 95 to 98% of the players that I coach are not going pro. I've already told them that. A lot of them are not going pro. So I'm preparing them for the rest of their life to be good husbands and fathers. And that's the part that most coaches won't say. You know how many coaches are going to say, I mean, I think all my kids going, no. Most of my kids, he said I'm coaching, ain't going pro. But what type of men are they going to be? And guess what? I told them, I'm going to give you all I can give you while I'm with you. We're going to win as many games as we're going to win. The criticism can come through me, but I'm trying to help prepare you for life. So don't lose sight of the fact that I know Dan Lanning is saying what has, the head coach of Oregon saying what has Colorado meant to this league thus far. It's a what have you done to me lately? They ain't did much until 2023, but it is 2023.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a great game on Saturday. But I think the Deion Sanders effect is something we've never seen in college football, only because, buddy, think about it. When he played for Florida State, did it his way. Played for the Falcons, did it his way. Played for the Cowboys, played for the Braves. He's always been different. Great player now, but he's always done it his way. Never made waves. Never.
He may have been the greatest corner of all time.
He is. Listen, when it comes to two things are true, three things are true when it comes to the NFL. The greatest quarterback to ever play, is Tom Brady. The greatest wide receiver to ever play is Jerry Rice. The greatest cornerback is Deion Sanders. And those things will last the test of time. I know everybody think Patrick Mahomes don't supersede Tom Brady. That's yet to be seen. I'm saying, buddy, it just what Deion does is he goes, look, man, I know about X's and O's, man, but I think what sets him apart is what Woody Paige has said. Nick Saban ain't pulling players to the side. He ain't hugging them. He ain't giving them little pep talks. Not because he can't. That's not his personality.
Yeah.
Deion can do that. Deion can say what no one else can say. Deion can do what no one else can do. Mm-hmm. And you know how it is. But as long as you're winning, what you're doing will be celebrated. Whatever he does.
And copied if you can copy it.
If you can copy it. So I'm rooting for Deion, man, because I understand that he's doing it in a way that's unconventional, but he don't know no other way. It's not like I'm trying to be different. I just am naturally different. I'm just naturally different. If Deion Sanders walked into a room, everybody's gonna stop and say that's Deion Sanders. That's the Deion Sanders effect. So hey, I'm rooting for him, man, because I know he's trying to change. He did it at Jackson State. He's doing it at Colorado. If he does leave Colorado, it would be to come to the SEC, not the ACC. Come to the SEC, and I just think that for right now, man, we get to watch something that's being beautifully executed. I mean, they getting it done. So I mean,
he might be the first $15 million coach in the SEC.
Coach Tim Brewster, who used to be the tight ends coach at Florida, he's out there. He's out there in Boulder, right there with Deion. So I'm just happy for those, because at a place like Colorado, that doesn't, it's been the last time they was good, they had Eric Bieniemy at running back, the offensive coordinator now for the Washington Commanders, Cordell Stewart.
Yeah.
Cordell Stewart was the quarterback. So it's been a long, and they had 5 downs in one game. They had 1, 2, 3. So we've come a long way since the refs been able to count the 4. Yeah. But I'm just happy because you know how it is, buddy. We live in a part of the country that the SEC football dominates college football. Like, we're going to dominate the headlines, dominate the TV screen. Last week, people watched Florida play Tennessee and stayed up to watch Colorado State. When the last time you've even watched Colorado play?
They're big numbers. They're big numbers on TV. Like, was it 9, whatever.
Yeah. Deion Sanders is good for business. Basically, Deion Sanders is great for business. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He touches, so hopefully he can keep it up, man.
I think Robert's right. Prime the best story in college football, and probably for the next several weeks. For you folks who didn't want to hear about it, I'm sorry, but he is the story. Let's do this. Stand by. I'm going to read this Titan MRI spot. Thank them for that. And we should be getting FRANZ Beard, the great FRANZ Beard, in here momentarily. Just shout out to Brendan Martin, who did a terrific job this week while I was out. I thank you for your effort and your work. And it's a lot of you would rather him be on it than me, but tonight I'm the guy. So there you go. So, all right, Titan MRI, worth a short drive to Gainesville, no insurance, no problem. You can pay with cash or card, same-day scheduling available. Where do you get that? You can start feeling better today because Titan MRI is North Central Florida's premier independent MRI facility. Come see why hundreds of patients are visiting our Gainesville location from Ocala, Bronson, Chiefland, Lake City, all points north and south, and Marion County and the villages. That's TitanMRI.com. All right, in a minute, I want to read you something. Let's get into the Gator mode for a second. I think we got something going on special up there. I wrote this tonight. I'm working on a piece that says this. There is a certain resonance and rhythm to the sweet music they are playing in the swamp these days, which tames the angst among the Gator faithful and portends of more good things to come. The hides of Tennessee Vols are hanging in the sun. Billy Napier's ballers bringing on the next victim, the Charlotte 49ers, who most assuredly will provide Florida with win number 3 in this young season, which is suddenly full of promise and expectation for the once dour Gator Nation. Coming up later on, I'll finish that column on GatorBaitMedia.com. So there's a lot of things going on. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday who happens to be a preacher. He said, man, oh man, that was some game on Saturday night, wasn't it? I said, yeah, it was. It was almost a religious experience. You know, that you have to kind of be, right, Ben? You got to feel, you got to be around it. You got to smell it and touch it, feel it, to know what that feels like. I'm not saying it was the greatest win. It was something very, very moving about that game. What was it, Ben?
It was everything came together for one night. I was trying to tell Brendan last week. I said, because Brendan kept talking about the Utah game. And I said, Brendan, listen to me, man. Every week in college football is its own chapter. It's like a movie. The middle of the movie should be more compelling than the beginning. But what happened on Saturday night was, it's not that everything clicked for Florida. It's everything they did, they executed. Ran the football. Graham Mertz took care of the football. Defense, lights out. We said this. We said the team that can run the football and the team that can create a dominant line of scrimmage and time of possession could win. Florida did all three of those things, and they didn't do it against a slouch. And don't give me that, Tennessee was just outmatched. No, they was outplayed. No. Joe Milton came in hot. Josh Heupel and company came in hot. But I think the thing about it was, I said Florida got to score in all 4 quarters. They got to score all 4 quarters, right? They cannot give the ball to the other team, and they got to create turnovers. They did all that. And the thing about it is, I said Spurrier Field has to get back to being an incredible place to come in and win for opposing teams. You saw that, buddy, and it's yes, I'm biased. Let me just go. Yes, I am biased. But when you got people coming out the stadium saying, I couldn't hear myself, I couldn't hear the person next to me. And these are offensive players and defensive players. When Florida is rocking, right? When Florida is at its best, there is no better stadium.
No place like it.
And I think what happened, buddy, is that's why Florida Gator Nation gets frustrated, because most teams cannot meet expectations. Mm-hmm. But the greatest thing that happened Saturday night was, I said this, the hardest thing to build is a culture. And Billy Napier is steadily building it. I'm so happy for Billy because he can breathe. Now, he can only breathe for like 24 hours. He got to get right back to it. Yeah. But it's like this, buddy. Until you do it, you don't believe. I'm not saying he couldn't believe he could do it, but the talk has to become results. Yeah. Saturday night, number one, no greater way to know you beat up on a team than to fight at the end of the game, right? That just solidified it. Oh, you that mad. But the thing about it is,
put him up. I like 54 getting that guy. Go after him. Get him.
But think about this, buddy. When all the fans were saying the same thing. I'm happy that those guys defended my quarterback. I'm happy that they went out there, because football is a game of emotion. It is a game of inches. It is a game of adversity and overcoming it. But what you saw Saturday night, everybody saw it. Unless you getting ready to watch Colorado State, the whole nation saw it. So, and you know what people are saying? Utah hasn't lost yet. They're a pretty freaking good team, right? This year with a better defense. McNeese State did the best they could. We ain't taking nothing away from them. Tennessee came in with all the momentum, and I told Brendan last week, I said, Brendan, if they're looking at Florida for week 1, they're gonna lose. That's not the same team, man. Mm-hmm. It's not.
You were right. You were right, Pastor Troop. You were right.
I said a complimentary passing game. Listen, complimentary passing game, dominant run game, the defensive line, Cam Jackson and company, Princely and those guys, they got after Joe Milton. They got after him. So what I enjoyed
I
about
thought
the
Joe
game
Milton
was,
could throw it 100 yards. Wait a minute. He threw the ball 100 yards. What happened?
Even on the interception, man, Big Dez, caused him to make an errant throw. What you appreciated, buddy, was, when you cover the Gators, even if you root for them, you got to let your analytics supersede, your fandom. And that's hard to do sometimes. I can admit that. But, buddy, even if you were just a casual onlooker on Saturday, if you never seen Florida play till Saturday, you was like, bro, they got something going. Yeah, they got something going.
Legit.
So and I got to say this too. I hate to say this, but this is the analyst in me. When Florida State, and Miami are all relevant, it is great, not just for the state of Florida, but for college football. It has been a long time.
No doubt about it. You're 100%. That's right.
Have been relevant. But I was happy for Billy, because that halftime speech, man, what Billy is saying, look, man, now it's time you get to listen. You get to look them in the eyes. Now it's time to put your hands on them. The way Billy Napier like encourages his team, that stuff will make anybody want to go out, because as a player first, you want to play well individually. You got to get past that. Then you want to play well collectively. That's what you want. But you get to a point where you say, I want to validate my coach, man. I want to validate, because I believe in this dude. And I said, once you get players and coaches buying in, and he keep building that culture, it doesn't mean that Florida proved this Saturday they can do this. They can beat. I'm not saying they will now. Just, you got to listen to what I'm saying. I'm not saying Florida gonna beat everybody left on their schedule, but they can beat them all.
They can.
Even them boys. Because, but isn't it crazy? The only thing that's gonna change people's minds is performance. It's not gonna be what we know they can do. We got to see it. It was hard to get Utah out of our psyche. It was, because you like, God, what's going on? We forget first game jitters, first game of the year. Boom. They come back against McNeese. Should have been a shutout. It's fine. What they did against Tennessee showed Florida didn't make the biggest jump from week 1 to week 2. They made the biggest jump from week 2 to week 3. They made a huge jump. Now, that ain't got nothing to do with the rest of the schedule. We still got a hard schedule coming up. But what I saw on Saturday was dudes that said, dude, we got to get back out there, bro. Because when I was blessed enough to interview Cam Jackson, man, and you know what he said? He said, Ben, when I got Cole SEC Lineman of the Week, he said, Coach Sean Spencer said, congratulations, big fella, but tomorrow we got to get back to work.
There you go.
He said that's the hardest thing I had to learn was, you have these highs, but you got to get back to work. And so, like I said, I will say this. The reason why Georgia is successful, because they bought in to what Kirby Smart.
Yeah.
I know it's kind of rocky right now in Tuscaloosa, right? They'll figure it out. The hardest teams to beat are the teams that share the same mentality as their head coach. Yeah. You saw it on Saturday. I hope they can bottle it up and duplicate that the rest of the season. But for one night in the swamp, Tom Petty, it was
unimaginable time that was. It was really good. All right, we're going to pause. We got the great FRANZ Spirit standing by. If I lose you, I got to change my Wi-Fi, log back on, and we'll tell you what somebody said about watching Florida play defense. A guy I'd never heard of, Brooks Austin from Sports Illustrated, said this. He's got 42,000 followers on Twitter, so people must listen to him. So let's do this. Let's switch off our Wi-Fi. Man, if we lose you, come back, and we'll have FRANZ, and I'm going to read this while we're doing it. Okay, here's the deal. This is Brooks Austin. This is what he said. Watching Florida defense on tape. My God, that's a deep front unit playing in front of two great backers in Shamar James and Scooby Williams. Defense going to be elite in 12 months. They are really good now. Hello. First time we started to hear stuff about the defense now. When's the last time we heard Florida's defense being praised by a national person like this guy? Let's see if we can go get the great FRANZ Spirit and get his talk. Good evening to you, Francis. How you doing?
Another day in paradise, guys.
You guys, you don't have that many days. You keep saying that, friends. I asked, how come every day you have is in paradise? We don't get paradise every day, okay? What channel are you on?
You're in Florida, and you could be in Pennsylvania or someplace like that.
And I'm on the air with you and Ben Troupe. How much better could it get? All right. So good.
I mean, you could be up in the Upper Peninsula in Michigan, right now, where they're expecting snow.
Yeah, I know.
You could be out in the middle of the desert. You know, I mean, this is paradise.
All right, I got it. Here you go. This is paradise. Franz Beard writing, okay? Today's column. The O-line, as I know that's wild. You told me, Sullivan, well, I want to go ahead and take your time. What is this I'm reading here? This is not your column. Oh, here they are. That's some of they transcribe. All right, here it is. You won't be able to tell the Florida offensive line unless you have a program Saturday night. When the 25th ranked nationally, guys, the 25th ranked Gators, 2-1, host the Charlotte 49ers at Ben Griffin Stadium on the right side, starting Micah Mazuka and tackle Damian George will have to sit out the first half, suspended for the participation in the end of the game melee with Tennessee last Saturday night. Senator Kingsley Aguanquin, who missed the first two games and started against Tennessee, is out for the game. Mazuka's place in the starting lineup taken by freshman Nigel Harris, while Florida international transfer Liddell Hudson will take over right tackle. George redshirt freshman Jake Slaughter, who started games 1 and 2, will be back in the starting lineup at center. Anyway, that's your lineup, and that's a very important. Franz, you do a good job of keeping up with the O-line, and it will be a chance for these young players to step in after the suspensions against Charlotte and get the rhythm of what's going on. The offensive line, I think, showed up well last week.
The offensive line played very well last week, and Kingsley is one of the big reasons why. You didn't see any confusion there. Those guys knew what the assignments were. And all you got to do is watch this guy. This guy is a real master at his craft. When you see him, he's got one hand on the ball, and all of a sudden he's pointing out, okay, you got this guy, you got this guy, the guy. And there's 100% focus. I'm not knocking Jake Slaughter, because Jake Slaughter is going to be a really good football player someday. But there's something to a guy that started 26 consecutive games prior to this year and knows what he's doing. Kingsley isn't the biggest, bulkiest center in the league, and he's got to have help with big nose tackles. Unlike Marquise Pouncey handled anybody and everybody in front of him with ease. But Kingsley is a guy that gets everybody else in the same place. And yeah, you got to give him help. But I'd rather have a guy that gets everybody in place and needs a little help than a guy that doesn't get everybody in place and can get on. The only person he can do it is by himself. He can get his guy, but he can't get everybody else in place. Kingsley is valuable because he gets everybody in place. And you're willing to pay the price for a guy that's got to have help if he can do that. It's kind of like Graham Mertz. We don't complain anymore about Graham Mertz getting the Gators in the right play. We may say, gee, I wish he could throw that 90-mile-an-hour fastball. But guess what? He gets the Gators in the right place, and I think he showed on that throw to Khalil Jackson. The guy has got touch. He knows what he's doing. That was an NFL throw and an NFL catch.
Yeah, good stuff right there. Well, all right, let me ask you guys this. Billy said after the game he thinks they can play better. That's kind of an interesting thought because they play better and they play against Tennessee. That means, as Ben said earlier, they got a chance against everybody left on the schedule. How can that be, Ben? And will they be that good at the end of the season?
He's supposed to say.
Yeah.
That's. But they can play better. Everything wasn't. Look, everything wasn't crisp. I think sometimes when you win the game, right, we only remember the plays that won the game. It was some. Do I think that was a pass interference on that play down the sideline? Yes, I do. But that DB got to know that's going to be a rub route. Like, you got to know they're gonna try to rub. They're going to use the outside receiver to rub the inside. They're going to try to bump you up. You got to see that. They got to pass that off because against teams like South Carolina and Georgia, that'll be a touchdown. The big touchdown pass given. Listen, I love Marshall at the cornerback position. If it's one-on-one to the left, look, you got to be willing to give up the slant. If he's gonna run a fade, I'm gonna play hard to the outside, and I'm gonna force him to run a route. You good enough to recover if it's a slant to make the tackle. You ain't good enough playing on the inside. You give up the inside. Those are and I know I'm nitpicking, but that's coaching. And the thing is, I would always ask Ron Zook, man, why do you once we got that rapport, my senior, I said, Coach, some of the players want to know why you say certain things. He goes, because that's the only way I can keep you humble by saying stuff about you publicly. I got to say it so the world can hear it. You know what type of player I know you to be, but I need your head. He said, I need your head to be able to fit in that helmet. Because some of y'all heads so big, we're going to have to get you a bigger helmet size. So for me, I like when Billy Napier says we can play better because they can. As great as they played on Saturday, they can play better. Because once again, Graham Mertz takes care of the football tremendously. He doesn't give it to the other team. And I couldn't agree more with what Franz said about Kingsley. People keep saying, what's the best addition? Kingsley coming back. Like, that's not even hard. Kingsley, I said this. Kingsley don't got to be the best O-lineman. He got to be the smartest. Your center got to be the smartest O-lineman you got. And that's what he is. So I think that when Billy Napier says they need to play better, we can play better, notice he's saying we. Because they can. You can still call. Listen, when I saw Khalil Jackson on that sideline tiptoeing, he reminded me of his daddy, Willie. I said, boy, he wearing that 22 just like his dad, grandfather did, uncle did, and daddy did. I like the fact that Pearsall and company, they can still take over a game now. I know running game going to lead the way, and it should. But I still think we can push the ball downfield. You don't got to throw the ball downfield to complete it. You got to throw the ball downfield to get them safeties to back up. But, yeah, I like the game plan. Yeah. I like trying to call certain things. The play of the game to me was this. With everything that happened, when they thought that Joe Milton could outrun Princeton to the sideline for that 2-point conversion, see, Princely saw it too. He said, all right, they finna try to run everybody deep. They're going to get Joe Milton to outrun me. To me, that was the play of the game because that let Joe Milton know, sideline to sideline, dude, you ain't going. Don't worry about Shamar and Scooby. When he ran him down and said, I'm not going to let you get that, to me, that was the play of the game because that do something to your psyche as a player. You're supposed to be, you are, by the way. You big time talent, huge upside, athletic, and our defensive end said, not today. Nope. You're not going to get in. But I do think they can play better. They still dominant performance. Still was a dominant performance, but that's the Nick Saban speech.
Speaking of Nick Saban, I'm glad you brought that up.
Alabama has played it, not as of late. When he say, we won 60-10, but we left some plays out there.
Yeah, well,
it's stuff like that. So I like it. Keep that momentum going.
Right. Here's something I want to bring up to you.
Nick Saban got a quarterback problem. They got a quarterback problem right now.
Yeah.
But
I'm going to just read your quote here.
Much.
Here's the thing, Ben. They played 3 quarterbacks against South Florida, okay? And they wondered why he did it. And Tyler Buckner and Ty Simpson both played. And not, by the way, Jalen Milroe. By the way, he didn't play too. So he promised all 3 quarterbacks that they would play this season. And Saban said that was it, nothing else. So he had an opportunity to bring in Tyler Buckner and Ty Simpson and his regular starter, Jalen Milroe, who's out. A lot of people are upset about Milroe being the quarterback. But the question is, can you do that in today's world? And can you coach guys hard, friends, because they don't take it well, because they can transfer? What approach does one take in coaching? And will a guy like Saban change his ways, friends?
If Nick changes his ways, that means that Nick has been bounced on his head too many times as an infant. It's just showing up now that he's 72 years old. Nick Saban isn't going to change his way. And one of the reasons that they've been so good at Alabama and why they've been so good recently at Georgia is Kirby Smart, Nick Saban tell kids, come here, we're going to coach every ounce of ability out of you. And guys like that, the guys that don't like it, the guys that are too many weenies on the team, they're the ones that transfer out for the most part and go someplace else because they just couldn't handle this stuff. Now, I understand a kid that is playing his heart out, doing the best he can, and all of a sudden he looks there and he's still number 3 on the depth chart. And you get those situations at Alabama. You get them at Georgia. We're going to have those kind of situations coming up at Florida right now. Let me tell you something. Next year, for the next 2 years, because I don't think either one of them will go pro until after their senior year. Scooby Williams, Shamar James. Get used to them being around for 2 more years and they're going to be absolute studs.
Awesome.
And by playing 4 years, they're going to be number 1 draft picks.
Yeah.
And so there's going to be some kid, I guarantee you, who's a linebacker who thinks he's a really hot to trot guy. And he's going to come here and he's not going to be able to beat either one of these guys out. And what's he going to do? He's going to transfer. I understand that. But what I can't understand is a guy that quits. And that's what it does. You get a guy that can't stand being coached hard, and he transfers out. That's a quitter. That's a guy that just can't handle it.
This guy's no quitter, and he's no weenie. He's back. Loren Meadows. What's up, Coach Meadows?
How's everybody doing tonight?
We're having a good football discussion with 2 of the best minds in the game, FRANZ Beard and BEN TROUPE. It's good stuff, man. Yeah. Jump in there. Yeah. Just talking about coaching guys hard, and and the fact that Nick played 3 guys, 2 of his backups against South Florida. How you coach today? By the way, Will Greer signed with the Patriots on the active roster. Speaking of quarterbacks, never have figured out what happened exactly there, but we know it had to do with PEDs. So, all right.
Well, I know coming out of camp, the Patriots only kept 1 quarterback. So I know, so they were kind of cut two guys. So I think they only had 1 on the active roster. So, they had to get somebody in there.
Yeah. Well, we're of a consensus here that something's going on here. We talked a lot about Deion Sanders in the first half of the show. Woody Paige is on. Great stuff. We'll have the second part of that tomorrow night. Woody Paige is talking about some things like the career of Rick Riley, who just went to the Hall of Fame. Woody and I work with him at Denver Post. But tonight, it's about the swamp, the magic of the swamp. They're going to be 3-1 with a chance, as Ben said, to beat almost anybody on their schedule. Now we're getting greedy. All right. Now we talked about being good at winning 7 games. Now we want to win all those games. Let's go first right now around the horn, starting with Loren and then FRANZ and then Ben. What do we got here? What's it look realistic about when they go 3-1? What's next, and how good can this team be? Loren?
Well, I mean, I think, you can almost pencil in 3-1. I think they're actually going to shut Charlotte out. I wrote in my article, Charlotte's just a little discombobulated right now. They got issues at the quarterback position, and Biff Poggi kind of called not only his assistants and his players out, but kind of called himself out too. So I think Charlotte will come in kind of disjointed and not really ready to do anything, but kind of get the check and roll out. So and then obviously they just got to shake off some demons in a lot of ways. I mean, obviously you can attribute a lot of the Kentucky loss last year to the poor play of Anthony Richardson, who's not around anymore. But, Kentucky doesn't seem to be playing really well. And I think, when you look at everything, the biggest difference is they're stopping people now. I mean, they're getting off the field on 3rd down. And, I mean, if we look at the Florida Gators last year, it just couldn't get off the field. It didn't matter what was 3rd and long or 3rd and short. They just could not get off the field. And they're getting off the field now, so you take everything that's going on offense with Graham Mertz and those kind of things. It's the fact that they're just forcing punts now. And forcing punts means increased possessions, no matter whether they stop the clock when the ball goes out of bounds or not. they're increasing their possessions. And, a guy like Graham Mertz has really come in and put his thumb on the offense. I mean, and he's far more than a game manager. He's become efficient. And, a lot of people talk about him not making the down the field throws, but he's making the throws when they matter. I mean, you look at in Tennessee at a key point in the game, he has Caleb Douglas on that 3rd and 7 for about 12 yards. I mean, that's an intermediate throw. That's not a dink and dunk throw, and it's a throw away from a defender that moves the chains. And that's what the Florida Gators didn't have last year. So you look at all those things. I mean, I think you think about it, you could say that, they won't be favored. I think probably there's probably 3 games that they probably, definitely won't be favored in. That would be the Georgia game, LSU, and Florida State, the way it looks right now. But other than that, I mean, they're going to be in the mix in every other game. And I think, a lot of us talked about, anywhere between 9-3 to 8-4. And it kind of looks like that now. So I think, and lo and behold, they go, who knows what LSU will be by then. Nobody's really sure what they're looking like. They've got some games. And
who knows what the LSCC may look like by then. Things are changing.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just, and, somebody said today, I heard that, if you look at some of the losses that the SEC has taken, is the fact that we talk about the SEC being a trenches league, a line of scrimmage league. And if you look at some of the high profile losses they've had, I mean, they've really gotten whipped up front. These teams, I mean, you look at the Texas loss with Alabama, you look at Florida State beating LSU, and even in some regard, even though Florida was working in some new offensive linemen, the Utah game with Florida. Yeah. And, where they used to really dominate in the trenches, that hadn't happened, in a lot of ways. And I think it'll get better as the season goes along, but,
all right.
That's kind of where we are.
Let me throw
Go
one
ahead,
quick thing since you mentioned the Charlotte quarterback. You know who's going to play quarterback for Charlotte Saturday?
Jalen Jones.
Jalen Jones, 2018, signed with the Florida Gators. He has since been to, Jackson State. He's been to Bethune-Cookman. I think he's been to a community college. He's at Charlotte. He's probably played in the World Football League, the XFL, and 2 or 3 other leagues along the way. But he's now at Charlotte. I think he's 24 years old, and he's now at Charlotte, and he's going to be the quarterback on Saturday for the 49ers.
That's it.
Yeah. They play 2 guys, and I think they're more dynamic with Jones. Looks like if you watch him on film, and then they've got a guy, Trexor Ivy, who's an in-state kid, and he's I guess they consider him the thrower. So the other day, Jones didn't attempt to pass in the first quarter, and then they pulled him against Georgia State. So it'll be interesting to see what they do at quarterback on Saturday for sure. Right, but yeah, Jalen Jones will be in attendance, so he'll finally get to play in the Swamp for sure.
Ben, it's going to be number 3 wins for Florida, 3-1 now, as you said earlier in the program. They're now all of a sudden they're ranked 25th in the country. Their offensive line's playing good. I think their secondary can play a lot better. The defense is playing good. And even though this is not a big game, quote unquote, it's an essential game for the progress of Florida. Getting out there with a W and playing better, that puts them set up to have a pretty decent first half of the season. If they can get to that number 5 or 6, this is a whole different year than people thought, Ben, this is going to be for Florida.
Oh yeah, I mean, now everybody had something to say about Utah. It's not like they was wrong, but when they act as if Utah ain't a hell of a team out there in the Pac-12, Utah's not no slouches. They're a really, really good team out there in the Pac-12. But I think the thing about this team right now is the perception of the team is, hey man, when they good, they're really good. And the reality of it is, it's still a question mark, but a good one though, because the narrative going into Tennessee was nowhere near it coming out of the game. And I get it. The only way you can get Utah in the back burner is what you did against Tennessee. The only thing that wins over the hearts and minds of onlookers, naysayers, and lovers of Florida is what they do on Saturday. The only thing that bothers me about Florida is not Florida. What is up with all these night games, man? Good Lord. It's like, are we not allowed to play at 12
amen. Wait, hold it. Say
Hey,
it again.
man, they're right
I'm
there.
just
There you
saying.
go.
I mean, that was wild.
Wow.
I'm just, but I will say this though. When you talk about why people get frustrated with Florida, whether you root for them or not, because when they show you what they're capable of, it shocks people. They're like, dude, they can do. Yeah, they got that in them. Of course, they got that in them. And I think the thing about what Florida has to do right now is sustainability, man. It's the hardest thing to do, not just in sports, but in life. But I do think that's what Billy Napier is doing. Like I said, patience is not something that you're gonna have when you talk about coaching at Florida.
Yeah.
But Billy Napier is shown, hey man, put your head down, keep going, keep going, keep going. Because like I said, a lot of these dudes are really, really young. A lot of these dudes still got 2 years. And what makes you look forward to 2024 is 2023. You got to have something right now. And I like what I saw on Saturday night. Like I said, man, that's what Saturday night is a long Saturday for me. Because did I watch Florida? Yeah. Did I watch Colorado? I ain't been up that long. And I ain't been up that long in a long time.
You're an old man. You can't stay up that late. You old man like that. You
I'm not saying
8:30
I saw the
you used to
whole
go to
game.
bed. I'm surprised you
I
were up
watched
for
the
this
whole game
show.
Colorado, no.
Yeah.
I saw Travis Hunter get hit, and then my eyes got real droopy. I mean, I can't remember. So did I watch the box score? But I will say this about Florida, though. Whenever Florida is playing the way they're supposed to play, these other teams can say whatever they want. They put fear in these other teams, not feel like they scared of them, but they were saying, "Hey, dude, I thought this was quote supposed to be the year for Tennessee." I don't even know what the hell that means when you talk about UT, right? But if Heupel and company went back home saying, "Who was that?" That's chapter 3. Chapter 1 was not worth reading against Utah. McNeese, okay. Chapter 3 was a hell of a chapter with Tennessee because we beat them. It wasn't because somebody was hurt, this, that, and that. So I think they got to keep that momentum. So for me right now with Florida, keep that momentum. Listen, I ain't gonna lie, buddy. I was looking forward to having Brendan on here tonight because I tried to tell Brendan, Lord,
he'll be back. He'll be back. You get after him next week.
This ain't even about because listen, we let Brendan rant it last week. Brendan went on a rant and we let him rant. Loren, FRANZ, you heard he went on this rant, and
y'all calling Brendan out, I think, aren't you?
No.
They are good. Call him out.
Brendan, I said this is what I said. I said, Brendan, I respect everything you saying. I respect you was at Utah. You and Lauren, y'all eating Raising Cane's, and listen, thank God for Raising Cane sauce. That ain't nothing but chicken strips. Anyway, I ain't got time to even get in that with Raising Cane's. But what I'm saying is, I said, Brendan, listen to me. The hardest thing to do is to put that stuff in the rearview, man. I'm telling you, them first 3 weeks, definitely week 1, and they got nothing to do with on Saturday night. And I can only imagine him looking, going, what in the world? I said, I told you. Sometimes being in close proximity messes with your vision. It messes with your vision, and I get it. But I'm just happy that for one night, and I've seen a bunch of them, experienced a bunch of them, everything that could go right did go right. Yeah. I mean, everything. I mean, it was, D-line, O-line, quarterback play, the running game. I mean, Etienne. I mean, that bloodline. Listen, we could have had Travis Etienne back there. He could have went for about 250 if he had them type of holes. But Khalil Jackson out there looking just like the Jackson family was his daddy, uncle, and grandfather out there, doing that smooth criminal on the sideline. That was nice. So I mean, for one night, man, and like I said, that smooth criminal. But I think for me, I like when players actually reap the benefits of the hard work, and that's any team. I'm not saying Florida's the only one I'm saying, but you know how it is. You know how it is, Loren. Coaches can only say so much. It's got to happen in real time, or they'll stop. They believe, but they won't believe the same. Because like, do we put in all this work? Win. Oh, okay. I see what Coach means. So hopefully, I don't know what phase they in. Yeah. But man, they got more phase than the midlife crisis in Florida. They go through a phase every week. I don't know what it is. But I just, for one, listen, I'm happy for 2 reasons. Those players that's there finally get a big win in the SEC. And for Billy Napier, like I said, man, for one night, he looked, you know how it is, FRANZ. Listen, what they say, when you win, your wife is prettier, the beer is colder, Your bed is softer. So for one night, hey man, he went home. Well, he went home after he got done recruiting. They say he was on the field till about like 12 at night recruiting, but he went home and his wife was like, "What's wrong with you, Billy? What you smiling for, baby? We won tonight. You was there. It feels good, but hopefully they'll get back to their winning ways. Like I said, man, I had so many of my, friends that root for, that team over there on the Panhandle and that team down in South Florida saying, "Hey man, y'all boys look pretty good." I said, no. Keep that same energy you had for Utah. I don't want no complimentary nothing. Don't give me no complimentary anything. I know it's a long way until we get to them, to them boys down there with that horse named Cinnamon or whatever his name is over there.
I believe Pastor Ben wants to preach T-shirts tonight. He wants to keep on
going. No. Listen,
Franz to sleep. Look at him; he's getting old.
No. Listen, Franz deal with the other journalists around the country, aka root for Georgia journalists. Anybody that has to deal with them deserve an extra bottle of alcohol because they get on my nerves. South Carolina, you had one thing to do, and you didn't do it. So now we got to do it, and we will.
All right, great stuff. Now, here's your assignment. You got to do it in 30 seconds. Give me somebody that you think is going to either emerge as a key player or somebody maybe that we have overlooked, not your usual Graham Mertz, all this stuff. Somebody in this lineup that might pop up and that we haven't talked about. I don't need Ricky Pearsall. Give me somebody that might be under the radar that you expect might show up in this next couple of weeks to spark this team. Anybody got a name? Who wants to go first? I'll go first. Scooby Williams. He's no secret already. I think he's a big-time player. I think we're going to see him. Remember him I think he's the all-American caliber kind of guy. So that's my guy, Scooby Williams. And I like to see him run. Chase guys, he's smart, defends, hits well. This guy's a good player. So make mine Scooby Williams. France?
Watch for a guy named Hayden Hansen. He is a tight end. He's a redshirt freshman. He's their biggest tight end. They've been using him mostly as a blocker, but he's got great hands. And one thing that's going to happen for the Gators, for the offense to take that next step, they're going to have to establish the middle of the field. And that's why you need a tight end who's big, who's strong, who's got some speed and the hands. And this is a guy that can do that. He's 6'6", he's 265, 270. He can block like a tackle, but he's also got great hands. And I'm not taking anything away from Dante Sanders, but Dante Sanders can block, but he's not exactly Mr. Nimble on the feet, shall we say. And he can't separate at all. This is a guy, Hayden Hansen, who can. And Florida, to take the next step offensively, they got to establish the middle of the field, and the tight ends are always your best bet for doing that.
And I like that pick. That's good. Yeah, I like that. Okay, let's go, Loren.
I'm a big fan of freshman defensive lineman. He's kind of been flashing here and there, but I think second half of the season, going to see a lot out of TJ Searcy. Really a big fan of his. Looks the part, and I think he and Kelby Collins down the road are going to be two of some of the best Florida's had. But big fan of TJ Searcy. He doesn't look wowed by the moment at all. So I see TJ Searcy.
Pastor Troupe, take us out.
I mean, I know I called him, been giving him a lot of love this show, man. But give me the smooth criminal. I think Khalil Jackson. I think when you start talking about who's going to be that other receiver not named Pearsall, I think the guy's built for it, man. I think he's the guy that can stretch the field. And like I said, ain't gonna make no waves, but that was a very, very hard catch that he made. I mean, to just make his body go limp, that's a Chad Johnson type catch when he was he used to do that all the time on the sideline with Cincinnati, and I'm still figuring out how he could run as fast as he could and just make his body go stiff. Yeah. Give me Khalil Jackson, a guy that can establish himself as that true number 2 behind Ricky Pearsall, because I think that as we get in the SEC play more, them safeties going to come up. They're going to force us to throw it. And I think he's going to be a guy that can definitely win some one-on-one battles.
Gentlemen,
if he
great
can run a
stuff.
slant like his if he can run a slant like his daddy, oh gosh, he'll become a Florida legend.
Listen, and a shallow cross. A shallow cross and a slant, he can run it. Guarantee he can run it.
Hey guys, great stuff tonight. Really, always a pleasure to be with tonight. It was exceptionally good. Appreciate it. Thanks to Woody Paige, who had some interesting things, you heard part of it, Ben, to say about Deion. You can't keep the guy out of the news right now. All right, guys, have a good night. We will talk to you next week right here on Orange and Blue Bloods. All right? Take care.
Have a good night.
All right, thank you. All right, so we're going to say good night to our friends. Everybody, we're going to go around the horn, and we're going to tell you about Renstar Medical Research. Very special group of people. I saved the last to best because these people are a tremendous citizen here in our town of Ocala, and they do things for us beyond what you know. I love that they're looking after our health. In addition to the fact they have these clinical trials, they also sponsor a lot of things in the community. They are good people, and they're great stakeholders in downtown Ocala. They have this high-quality, patient-centered clinical research facility, and they bring cutting-edge clinical research trials to Ocala in areas like dementia, Alzheimer's, osteoarthritis, psoriasis, migraines, fibromyalgia, many things that affect us and our conditions in this area. And this information is processed, and they've been doing this a long time, since 1998. Over 700 clinical trials. The information goes out in the community to places like prominent pharmaceutical companies, biomedical companies, throughout the medical industry. They want you to participate in these trials if you're eligible. And if you go to renstar.net, check them out, see how you get eligible. In some cases, you're compensated for time and your travel. So don't forget, Renstar Medical Research, seeking tomorrow's answers to the health questions of today. Thank our guest, Woody Paige, tonight, along with our regular crew here on Thursday night. Miss Brendan tonight did a great job while he was away. Thanks to him. You have a good night, folks, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. It's Urban Meyer, Best Fries in Football. It'll be in the morning, so check it out right here on The Buddy Martin Show.